What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and today we're going to be talking about the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Well, it's now official. We are 2 races into the IndyCar season, and we still have a Dale Coyne racing car top the points. We are in uncharted territory. As for the race itself, it was a pretty standard IndyCar street race. You had Charlie Kimball doing Charlie Kimball things, while at the same time Will Power was doing Will Power things around Charlie Kimball, who was doing his Charlie Kimball thing. And of course they smashed into one another and wrecked out, well, except for Will Power, who somehow miraculously escaped more or less undamaged, except for a broken wing, but he was not fast all race, so clearly the car was damaged, because it's a street course after all. But from there on, basically, we had 2 strategies play out. We had the 2-stop and 3-stop strategy, and it looked like for a long while it was going to be interesting until the Andretti Autosport cars decided to ruin the fun. First, Marco Andretti had some sort of miscellaneous issue, probably engine or electrical related, and he limped around slowly out there just kind of trying to figure out what was going on, and Ganassi panic-pitted Dixon, expecting a yellow flag and not wanting to get caught out, which, you know, it's a very safe strategic move, and given what happened in St. Pete, it's understandable why they hit the pit so quickly to cover against a full course yellow, so I can't blame them there. It is a good strategy call, even though it might have not necessarily be, optimal for winning the race. And then basically from there on, it was 3-stop versus 2-stop, and it was just kind of playing out, and everybody was just kind of stagnant. And then Rossi's car ended up blowing up, sadly, in a great run for him. And then Sato's car ended up blowing up, and then Ryan Hunter-Reay's car ended up blowing up. So 4 Hondas having 4 different issues. Yeah. I would say it's probably a Honda-related issue, and maybe their newfound strength this year is them pushing the limits with the engine a little bit further than what Chevrolet has been doing. But given the fact that all 4 of the Hondas to have issues were Andretti Autosports cars, I almost have to wonder if it's something that is team-related rather than engine-related. It could also be that those engines happen to have more miles on them through testing or whatever, and therefore that's why they all ended up having problems. Maybe Honda's reliability will be a factor throughout the season, so there's something else to keep your eyes on. But really is a shame, especially for Ryan Hunter-Reay and Alexander Rossi. I think this race was honestly Alexander Rossi's best drive, including the Indy 500. You know, that race, he kind of, I don't want to necessarily say he lucked into it, because he was running really well throughout the race, even though a lot of people forget that. But, he was up front, he was running fast, he was catching the leaders towards the end of the second, third pit stop before it ended up with the second full course yellow. So, I mean, he was running fast, he belonged there, he looked like he could have been a contender for the win if things would have just played out a little bit differently. And of course, Ryan Hunter-Reay, after the second full course yellow, he was actually closing in on Hinch, who ended up winning the race, and it would have been a tremendous battle. Would have been nice to actually see that play out on track, but unfortunately, with about 5 laps to go, we were robbed! We were robbed by Honda reliability! Curse you, Honda! As for other things, Simon Pagenaud, fantastic recovery drive after qualifying, where he held up Elio Castroneves sort of inadvertently. Good job, Team Penske. I don't know why we continue to have issues in IndyCar with teams having to back their cars up to get space from one another when there's a whole freaking track and there's only like 6 or 7 cars on track at a time, but apparently we're always going to have that issue. But a good recovery drive, playing the strategy quite nicely to go ahead and manipulate where they're going to end up coming out and protect against the caution, running a much longer final stint, but obviously with the full course yellow, played right into their favor, so well done on that one. Also worth pointing out, Ed Jones with a 6th place finish, and this time without any sort of strange voodoo strategies from Dale Coyne, actually getting up there and contending. Quite impressive, actually. He ran well in St. Pete. He was up to, I believe, 3rd at one point in that race. But a lot of us were kind of like, well, strategy and Dale Coyne doing Dale Coyne things. Yeah, that's okay. But no, he actually ended up finishing quite well, which is definitely impressive from the young rookie. Which, combined with how well Bourdais has been running in the other Dale Coyne car, holy crap, has Dale Coyne Racing actually become a legitimate contender. Oh my goodness. What fascinating times we live in, guys. What fascinating times we live in. For those of you guys who are more into Formula 1, this would basically be like if Sauber just all of a sudden showed up and they were really stupid fast. No one, and I mean no one, would expect it. Okay, maybe not to that same degree, given that IndyCar is a spec series besides the bodywork, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but you get the point. It's just not supposed to happen. But really wrapping up the race itself, really good to see that Honda's power is actually real, although, again, they had those reliability issues, but, Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports, especially with James Hinchcliffe, running well at St. Pete before the yellows kind of threw a wrench into the plans, running really well once again, running up front on legitimate speed. Once again, Sebastian Bourdais somehow ending up well up the order, just kind of Dale Coyne gonna Dale Coyne, I guess. I don't know. It's awesome. I love it. And yeah, very, very, very standard. Also, the other thing, also good to see that Andretti Autosports is actually capable of running on a street circuit again. So hallelujah, we actually have a third power team. Moving from Long Beach, I'd like to go ahead and talk about the 2018 IndyCar bodywork renderings that were released in between the break of St. Pete and Long Beach. And yeah, hallelujah, we might finally have a good-looking race car again in IndyCar. It's been a while. It's been literally a decade. And even then, that car didn't exactly look entirely correct, because why are you racing a high-nosed car in North America? It's just not right. Just leave that to Europe. Sorry, it just doesn't look right. You have offended my sensibilities. But next year there will be new bodywork in IndyCar. There's two goals behind this move. Actually three. First of all, to remove ridiculous costs. Chevy and Honda were both reported to be spending like 20 or 30 million, somewhere in that range, to develop the bodywork for IndyCars, which is absolutely ridiculous. That's a losing proposition from all regards, as well as make the racing better, getting rid of a lot of the aerodynamic winglets and doodads that have popped up over the last 2 or 3 years, to actually enable the cars to race closer to one another once again, getting the aerodynamic downforce from the underwing through the floor and through ground effect, expanding the floor out to what it used to be before they had to shrink it down for 2015 to reduce the downforce so it wasn't actually overstressing certain components on the cars, as well as to make the car look great. So this whole combination is apparently the steps that are going to be taken to make IndyCar great again. And of course I use that wording very specifically, because in my opinion, one of the big things with this is that it looks like something that we race in North America. It looks like a top-level North American open-wheel single-seater. The Dallara DW12 up until now, it just hasn't necessarily looked right. It hasn't looked like an IndyCar. It just isn't right, regardless. The Dallara before it, it just didn't quite sit right. Even the Pano's DP01, which I'd say is the best-looking open-wheel, single-seater, high-nosed car ever. It didn't look like an Indy car. It didn't look like a Champ car. It just didn't quite look right, even if it was a very good-looking car. But this actually looks like something that we race in North America. It looks like something that belongs on the speedways, doing 220 miles an hour out there. It looks like something that should be racing around the street circuits, and it looks good. It's got to look good to captivate the audience and to get the kids into it and to make them be all like, whoa, that looks cool. Because, like, I'm pretty sure I would not be getting into IndyCar racing if I was just getting up, growing up today, as opposed to when I was growing up back in the 90s, and we had stuff like the Target cars with the Renards and the lightning bolts and everything, and doing donuts and being all like, that's cool. That's cool. And that's how I became a fan. Not sure I'd be a fan if I was watching these things with all these, frickin' wings popping up all over the place. And just saying. But again, of course, this is a rendering. Things are subject to change. Hopefully they don't end up beating it down with the ugly stick even more, but considering it's just new bodywork on the same tub, same chassis, I think they have really put some things out there that look really good and actually make me very excited for the bodywork next year. And then, of course, for those of you guys who don't know, IndyCar's TV contract is coming up in 2018 at the end of the season, which hopefully means that, in all likelihood, we'll finally be getting rid of ABC and their always bad coverage. So maybe things are actually finally going to turn around in the next few years for IndyCar. It's maybe a good time to be an IndyCar fan again, but let's not get too excited because the world has a habit of kicking us all in the nuts. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.